Welcome to this week's astrology. And this week is a week of conflict. It's a week of anger and frustration. And like that might sound negative, but the thing is, these energies help move us forward. They help us kind of burn through what's not serving us. They also are energies which humble us when we use them in the right way. And I say that because we're about to have the opposition again between Mars and Pluto. And this is an opposition we felt in January this year. We also felt it in November, like around the US elections last year. And this is the third time we're going to feel it. And then the two of them will move apart from each other for a while and give us a little bit of a break. Now, why this is so intense this week, I would say particularly between Monday and Thursday, it will be like it reaching maximum intensity. We're also going to get some of it next Monday with the Aries new moon. Like heads up, the Aries new moon ritual and reading is live. If you want to see how that will be playing out in your chart, see the link below. Now, the reason it will be so big this week is we have a grand cross forming in the sky, which is the sun in Aries is going to be opposing the black moon Lilith in Libra. Mars is in Cancer, opposing Pluto in Capricorn. All of these are cardinal signs. So the energy is like, it's dynamic. It's wanting change to be created. This is not about sustaining what has been. This is like using conflict, the conflict that naturally occurs between these planets, and they're fiery planets. It's like anger, frustration, the ego, like the way in which the ego wants to own and control and be right. It's all of these things coming up. And the beauty of conflict is conflict comes up when there's an argument between the soul and reality. Sorry, between the ego and reality. It's like the ego is not accepting the reality of a situation, and it's not seeing itself. It's seeing itself as separate from reality. And so anger and conflict allows us to burn through this. It allows us to ultimately move into a place of peace. And something that was coming through really strongly for me when I was feeling into this week was this idea of like a bushfire or a fire. I'm not sure how fires operate in other parts of the world, so I'm going to use Australia as an example. So there are a lot of native species of trees here that require fire in order for their seeds to open and be dropped. And so bushfires are a natural part of regeneration on this land. And if you can think this week of the fire and the conflict as that element that brings about regeneration, and it can look like destruction. As a bushfire takes place, there can often be, yeah, like everything is turned black, it's charred. But underneath that, what has happened is those trees have been given the opportunity to pop and to allow their seeds to be laid for something new to be generated in that forest floor. And so that's almost what's coming, and that's what this Pluto Mars activation line we've been going through, which really started around August last year, but peaked in November and then peaked in January and now is peaking this week. That's what it's all about. It's almost like these three bushfires, if that makes sense. And externally, that looks like conflict, war, genocide, um, a sense of entitlement, inflated capitalism, protests, hierarchies that no longer work. It's that type of energy that's coming up. And what we want to do this week is, as that's coming up in the collective, see where it exists within us. Where are we? So we might believe, like, we're anti-genocide or we're anti-hate. Where are we still perpetrating and holding the polarity to that? Where are we maybe vilifying people who hold the polarity to that? Because this fire is all about bringing us into greater peace and acceptance, understanding that this destructive energy is a part of nature. It burns through what is no longer working, and it lays the seeds for new growth to happen. So just to break down the week, today we have Venus conjunct the North Node. Now we're already in a new Venus energy. You might have noticed when Venus stationed direct last Sunday. We're now in a new cycle in how we deal with the material realm, how we deal with relationships. And you might find, particularly today, it gets really obvious what no longer fits you. Desires that just don't make sense anymore. Even how you can find that you're rejecting the things that you were led to believe that you wanted based on collective pressure, based on maybe what you've been seeing in the news or in pop culture. It can bring about a really big shift in what you're attracted to and how that's going to differ with societal standards. I encourage that. Um, Mars is going to be trine Neptune. So that's to say, we've actually got a couple of planets that are trying to help us with that conflict. The first is going to be Mars. So, sorry, is Neptune. Neptune is lending its energy to Mars. And it's like, listen to your intuition. Let your intuition guide you, not the overinflated ego, not the part of you that is sensitive to what other people say about you. Let your intuition show you and let that action humble you. Let it give you the right way to channel that frustration and anger. Now, on top of that, like, yes, on Monday, the sun will perfectly square Mars. So we start to like build into that tension of like Mars squaring Sun, squaring Pluto, squaring the Black Moon Lilith. And we'll feel that build through to Thursday. We'll really, really feel it because all of them are moving into this perfect tension. Um, but at the same time, Mercury is going to be lending its energy to Pluto. So I'd be saying, like, also, if you're sitting in that energy, sitting in that anger, write down what's going on for you and even have a conversation with someone about maybe what you see that needs to change. Also, listen to what they reflect back to you. It's kind of like, do you ever notice how maybe you're around someone and you can see stuff about them they can't see about themselves? And sometimes you want to tell them, like, they'll be telling you a story of their life, and you're like, I can see how that's not true. There's actually something like you're doing this thing that's creating that. But very often we hold that story to ourselves and we might think we're special and we're the only one that can see that. It's not true. We can see other people more clearly than we can see ourselves. It's part of the illusion, it's part of the ego's game. And you can find this is a great week to get someone that will be honest with you. So, that will be honest with where that anger is coming from. And even just to chew the fat, to talk it through, to be really open to hearing in a way that will help your development, that will help you grow. Um, on Friday, Venus will be conjunct Saturn again. She had a perfect conjunction with him on the 7th of April. You'll find this similar themes that come up on Friday. It's also Venus's day, so the energy is extra strong. And just be aware, like, this is generally about like destruction and kind of like karmic conclusions around relationships, possessions, and money. If there's stuff that Saturn didn't get to work on 2 weeks ago, this will bring it about. And then yeah, that's it for the week. Like, it's a full-on week. It's a week where there's a lot of tension, right? And it is building. Like, we'll really feel it Monday to Thursday, but next week as well, kind of like Sunday and Monday as well, there'll still be a lot of energy going on. There'll be a peak again with Mars opposed Pluto, and we'll also have a new moon in Aries, which will be heightening that grand cross. So I would be saying, like, instead of, like the idea of like we can use our anger to hurt other people, we can use it to be quite caustic, like to throw it and externalize it. And that can be as simple as getting angry at someone that pulls out in front of you when you're driving. But it can also be like you're angry about someone and then you run into someone asks you for something and you push that anger onto them and your anger actually has nothing to do with them. And these are the times where almost that bushfire can get out of control, where it's like a poison, if that makes sense. Like, anger will and naturally wants to move. It doesn't want to sit still. When we force it to sit still within the body, it creates disease and tension. But we equally don't want to give it to someone else because that it just kind of spreads. It's almost like this um yeah, like, it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling when someone's angry at you, and it's not nice to give that to someone else. the way we can use anger in a really positive um, way is to sit with it. Instead of spreading it, like sit with it. It's a messenger. It's about regeneration. It's about something that's not serving you. See if instead of acting upon that anger, you can not push it down and ignore it or dull it with like alcohol, TV, or picking up a book, but see if you can feel it. Sit with it, feel where it is within the body, and really listen like, what does it want to tell you? Because very often under anger is sadness. And so listen, like, what is the story of that fire, of that anger? And that story will serve you. It's there to help you generate those new seeds. It's there to help you grow again. So let the collective do what the collective does. It's all part of the divine play. It's perfect in all of its craziness, but within you, that's where you can start, is just looking at your own anger. What is it about? Where is it coming from? Who am I putting it onto? What's the story I'm telling myself that you might find isn't true? And start there. Start by inquiring within and let that fire become an illuminating light within that illuminates the mind, that lets you see what you haven't been able to see before within. So I'm wishing you a wonderful week. May we all hold that energy of liberation for the collective and everything we go through as one mind, but in separate bodies. I'll quickly mention the Aries new moon ritual and reading is now live. You can receive a reading for that Aries new moon, which will be next week, which has plenty of conflict sitting within it, as well as a great ritual to help anchor that. And that's it. Have a wonderful week.